All right, hey guys, what's going on? This is our WandaVision episode 1 spoiler reaction review. Now, sorry this is coming pretty late, but I've been busy with stuff and I needed to find out exactly what's going on in the show, honestly, because as of this recording, I just found out and watched episode 4, so now I'm kind of in a fair laying as to what exactly is going on, but again, there's like 5 episodes after this, so I'm just going to review each and every episode up until, the series finale and all that. Hopefully get on a weekly basis. But anyway, here's episode 1, which is supposedly, quote unquote, the 1950s era style of sitcom where Wanda and Vision are living the happy life, even though Vision is dead. If you've seen Avengers Endgame, he is, or if you've seen Avengers Infinity War, more than likely, you know that Vision is dead. So how Wanda conjured him back to life, I don't know. And no one really knows as of yet, but I'm assuming that we will find out later. The first thing I want to address is this, and here it is. I am a huge sitcom fan, okay? All the old sitcoms that you probably know of or haven't heard of, I have watched. And I've seen a lot of people like reviewing this episode saying that it's the honeymooners and stuff like that. In actuality, it is not in any way, shape, or form the honeymooners. And I'm going to really dissect this because it got me really, really mad when people are giving this comparison when not knowing what any sitcoms really are. And this is my train of field of expertise, so hey, let's go into this, shall we? And hopefully I'll keep this short and sweet. But anyway, the honeymooners, for all of you who may not know, is kind of like the very early seasons of the Flintstones, especially season 1. Then if you guys seen the Flintstones season 1, it is basically the exact same thing, except it's more quote unquote modern, like the 1950s style of modern, than prehistoric things or whatever. But basically the show is borderline domestic abuse, like the Fred Flintstone character, or the fat guy is threatening to beat his wife a lot, and his wife's like, whatever. And then the Barney lookalike guy, he comes over to his house, and the fat guy and the skinny guy, they try to rip off people to try to make more money for themselves quick. And they always fail, and yeah, that's basically it. This episode is absolutely nothing like the honeymooners at all. In fact, what this episode is, more often than not, it's kind of parroting the Dick Van Dyke Show more often than not. Even through the opening of the show, like that opening theme song, we see Vision kind of going through the ottoman when in fact Dick Van Dyke famously tripped over that in his show. In actuality, this show did not premiere until 1961, so it's not necessarily a 1950s show. It's more like an early 60s show, but people are kind of making that comparison because, hey, it's got to fit into every single decade of sitcom, I guess, so here we are. People are kind of comparing it to I Love Lucy as well, and I still don't think it's necessarily that. The only thing that it's kind of in line with I Love Lucy is the fact that I Love Lucy was a woman-based show. Like the titular character was Lucy. And in this show, Vision and Wanda are kind of the main stars. Wanda a little bit more than Vision, but be that as it may, it's more in line with the Dick Van Dyke Show, which is 1961 through 1966. So there. And I know from interviews that Kevin Feige's a big, huge fan of older sitcoms. And yeah, if be as it may, if he really wanted to, he could have made a more 1950s sitcom, more along the lines of I Love Lucy. He could have done it, but he went toward the more Dick Van Dyke Show kind of thing, which Hey, I'm not blaming him. It's a really decent episode. It actually looks a lot like a Dick Van Dyke Show episode. And yeah, let's actually get into the episode now. So I gotta say, from a visual standpoint, the camera movements, the lighting, everything looks like a 1950s to early 1960s episode of television. It looks immaculate. And as we go, we're probably not going to deal with that, but we're getting out of context here. And I gotta say, first and foremost, after the cinematography and editing style of this show, Elizabeth Olsen, man, my gosh, is she fantastic. She's like completely different from the Wanda that we grown to know and love in the MCU. And now she's like a 1950s style housewife, and she plays it very on the nose. It's very well done. Honestly, she should be looked at for an Emmy. I don't think she will, because this is an MCU thing, and MCU, very rarely do we ever get like a Best Actor nomination for anything. But honestly, with the television nowadays, if they were going to have the 2022, I guess, Emmys tomorrow without anything premiering, I would say put Elizabeth Olsen in that running, because she is spectacular in this show. Paul Bettany's pretty awesome as well. He's playing like a more stand-up person. Like, he's got a head on his shoulders now. He's not like kind of confused and like completely robotic like we see in his, earlier scenes through the MCU. We see him actually concerned. We see him actually like wondering out, what exactly is this world, We're seeing more of his humanity and not necessarily his roboticness, which I really do enjoy. Paul Bettany's done a great job as well. And again, let's go back to the way this show is built, I guess. Like, this episode is, without a doubt, 100% exactly like the Dick Van Dyke Show. It looks very similar. The way the shots are made, very few shots, but it's very, very similar to how the Dick Van Dyke Show was, shot and all that. The editing wise is really well done as well. I mean, even when Wanda's like floating stuff in the air or whatever, they look like they're on strings, which is a very nice detail, because that's how the 1950s, if something was floating in the air, that's the way it would look like. It wouldn't look basically realistic if someone were to float something in the air. It wouldn't look that realistic like in the MCU, like with Captain America's Civil War or something, when she's like floating stuff in the air or whatever. It wouldn't look that realistic. It would look like something that was hanging off of a string, and it looks like exactly like that. So good job to Kevin Feige. Good job to the directors and all those people working on that. Fantastic job. Again, the attention to detail is just beautiful. And actually, the whole plot of this episode, I think, is the pilot of the Dick Van Dyke Show. When Dick Van Dyke is kind of wondering if it's their honeymoon or something, but it turns out it's his boss is coming to dinner with his wife and all that. And he's got to impress them, and his wife, Mary Tyler Moore, gets all confused and thinks, oh, well, this is for us. No, honey, this is for my boss. It's a classic episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show. I remember seeing it. I don't know if it's the pilot. I think it is. Anywho, just a fantastic episode of this show. And also, another thing that differences it from the honeymooners, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get away from this, but another reason is they actually love each other. Every scene that they're with each other or talking with each other, they are in love, man. In the honeymooners, it was very rare where they're actually like in love with each other, or actually showed love between the married couple. But Wanda and Vision, they are madly in love with each other. You can see it all the way through. And of course, we get that awesome commercial that everyone's been picking apart and all that, where we actually do see some color in that little blinking light on that toaster thing, which made people think that may be a remnant of a bomb from Stark Industries, where, Stark killed Wanda's parents and all that, and his brother Pietrov's parents and all that. It could be. I think it is. I would assume that it is. Maybe we'll dive a little bit deeper with every episode after this, because there's like, including the two that I have, the three, I think, that I have to still review, eight more episodes? Yeah, 8 episodes. That we could possibly dive into more about this. So yeah, there it is. Also, we get this very, very creepy, toward the end of the episode, this very creepy scene where this woman is like laughing and trying to keep her composure while saying, help him, which is reminded me of the Twilight Zone, honestly, and reminded a lot of people about the Twilight Zone. But yeah, she's calling out to Wanda saying like, help him, while she's like laughing or something because her husband's choking, and Vision's just like, should I help him? I don't know. Should I? And then Wanda's like, Vision, help him. And all of a sudden he's just like, yo, I'm on the scene. Which gets kind of interesting. Like, is Wanda part of this world? Like, is she controlling every single aspect of this world? And what is up with this? Why are the people kind of weirded out about this, Also, we get Catherine Hahn in her first entrance into the MCU playing like the neighbor, I guess. People have speculated because we've seen trailers for WandaVision that she has this brooch on throughout all the episodes and every single decade of the series and all that. People are suspecting that she might be the witch that kind of trains Wanda into manipulating more of her powers and all that, because it's kind of unstoppable. I don't know quite yet, as of this episode, if that's really the case. I couldn't really tell, but she kind of has some interesting motifs in there. You suspect that it may happen, but you kind of have to watch a little bit more to find out about that. Also, notice in this episode, there aren't any black people or any people of color who have speaking parts, except for that one guy, I guess, who's kind of Vision's workplace friend, who is Indian, I suppose, but he's like barely in it. It gets better. Don't worry, it gets better. But I think that's also kind of a hint at 1950s racism, because if you see a lot of the sitcoms of the 1950s and early 1960s, there aren't a lot of black or people of color characters who have speaking parts in these shows, because they're racist. I don't condone that at all, but I think that's a very interesting detail that they decided to put in. I don't know, give it that more authentic kind of 1950s style characteristic of it. Don't worry, there's going to be people of color having speaking roles in later episodes. Good, okay? They get a little bit better, okay? Don't worry. Also, it ends with Wanda and Vision kind of saying, yeah, you know what? Let's get married. Let's be husband and wife officially. We have rings and all that. And then the end with the hexagon thing, people suspecting that it's sword and all that. And we see the sword logos at the very end with these hands taking notes and all that. What are the hands? Well, we'll kind of figure that out in later episodes. But as of now, that's it for this episode of WandaVision. I really do enjoy this. I just hate the fact that people think that this is I Love Lucy or The Honeymooners based, where it's absolutely not. From everything that's they're making and all that, even down to the crappy cheesy jokes that they say and all that. It's so 1950s, early 1960s cheese that I absolutely enjoy. I gobbled it all up. And of course, we got the Stark references, we got the hexagon references and all that. Just a bunch of stuff. Even more stuff to come in episode 2. So look out for that probably next week. As of this, guys, I am Slam. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll dive into the next episode because I truly love this show, and it gets even better. Don't worry about it. So let's hop on to it, shall we? I'll see you then.